All right. It looks like a good number of people have joined, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. I want to thank everyone for being here today. My name is Tovin tsannes-venhuizen. I am one of the mentoring associates here at BestPrep, and I'm super excited that I will be getting to work with all of you in this upcoming connection. So the goal of today's meeting is we're just going to go over Cloud Coach and what it is. I know some of you are new to the program, and I'm really, really excited about that. Thank you so much for being willing to join Cloud Coach and try something new and help impact our future and the future of our youth. We're going to talk a little bit about what the expectations are for the program, and then we're going to have a little bit from the school administrator and program coordinator, Benjamin Stock. So, like I said, we'll just go over the program, and then at the end we also will have a Q&A. If for some reason something doesn't work with the Q&A or you don't have time to ask your question, that's completely fine. You can send me an email afterwards, and I would love to answer any and all questions you might have. So I want to start with just an overview of the program. It's been around for about 10 years now. We're in almost every single ninth grade classroom in the St. Paul and Minneapolis school districts, which is really, really exciting to have such a broad reach to be able to offer these opportunities to so many students. We have a couple goals in our program. The first is to build positive relationships. Mentoring relationships are really, really impactful. They're shown to improve school attendance, to build confidence, to increase likelihood of post-secondary education, all of things which are really important, especially in a time right now where the cost of school might be deterring some students or, different family situations, anything we can do to encourage those students to go on and achieve their dreams. We increase global orientation and future-mindedness. We've worked very closely with the Search Institute. If anybody's heard of them, they're a nonprofit organization. To design the program and the curriculum that we use. So a lot of this is research-based, which really helps us make sure that we're giving the best possible experience to these students to help them in the biggest way. Washington Tech has been participating in Cloud Coach since 2018. So that's really exciting that we get to continue another year with Washington Tech. Getting right into it, you're going to receive your first message or your first prompt to write a message on the 27th at 5 p.m. That's going to be a Monday. And then going forward, you will receive your message every Monday at 5 p.m. You'll get a total of 8 messages to send. Your student will reply to you 7 times. Every single week, you, the mentor, are going to be initiating the conversation. The email that you'll get from Cloud Coach or from BestPrep will give you kind of a prompt for the week, and we'll get into that a little bit more here in just a moment. So it'll give you some guidance for the conversation. It'll give you some hints of different things you could talk about if you're having trouble, maybe your student isn't interacting quite as much. Students will be replying on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I would recommend waiting until Wednesday so that other than the first week to let that message from your student come in, let them reply before you go ahead and reply to them. So like I said, you'll receive the weekly gateway prompt via email. Please make sure that you're reading the entire prompt. These are really important. Like I said, they're research-based. They've been designed with a lot of thought and research put into them. It'll have a summary at the top, an objective, some different talking points, a potential leading question that you can feel free to use or modify yourself. And then it'll explain a little bit of the research and rationale behind the prompt. These prompts are designed to help you share relevant experiences from your own life and to ask questions or work with your student to focus on their life. So, 8 weeks is not a lot of time to build a really deep relationship with a student, but we try to set you up with as much or as many of the resources as possible to be able to do this. At the bottom of the gateway prompt, there's going to be a link to the online portal. The online portal is going to track who's sending messages to make sure it goes to your student, not to someone else. It's going to allow us to monitor the content from the BestPrep side for safety of the student and for the mentor. So unfortunately, there's no pictures or attachments allowed, no links. That's one thing that I do want to touch on really quick is you have to use the link to reply. If you just reply to the email with your message, unfortunately, it's just going to come to my email and I will route it on, but it's a bit of extra work. It'll be delayed. So please make sure that you're using that link to reply to your student. It'll also allow you to see their previous message. So you're not just writing an email, not knowing what you're talking about. You don't have to keep everything quite as organized. It'll allow you to see all your messages. When you hit submit, you should receive a copy of your message in your inbox. Sometimes it'll look a little formatted differently, but you should be receiving confirmation that your message went through. When your student replies, you will get a notification email with what their message was, but there's not going to be a link to immediately reply. And that's because we want to give the full week for the students to reply, rather than, some students may be getting overwhelmed because they're getting that link sooner than they want to, or sooner than they should be getting it. So you'll have to wait until the next Monday at 5 p.m. before you get before you get your link to reply. Remember, you are introducing the new topics each week. So that topic that's in the gateway prompt, that's going to be your job to work into the message. The teachers aren't going over that in classroom. They're not talking about it. We're really relying on the mentors to introduce that prompt. There are situations that you might want to, go away from that a little bit, and we'll talk about those here in a few moments. But for the most part, please really make sure that you're utilizing these gateway prompts. Here is just a very high level overview of what they are. So they're kind of broken down into two halves, you might notice. We have the thinking forward section, which is going to be talking to students, asking them what do they want to do in the future. And then we have the Cloud Summit, which is, our big event that hopefully most of you guys are going to be able to make it to. And we're really excited. We've already started planning for it. You'll get to meet your student in person. You'll get to do some fun activities. And then the second half is going to be Act Now. So setting the students up with the tools that they need to succeed to get to their goals in the future. So the first prompt you will be getting here in about 2 weeks is going to be perspectives on school, where you will be asking the student, hey, what are your perspectives on school? Sharing a little bit about yourself, sharing who you are. After week 1, you will have the option to switch between different tracks. The default track is going to be track number 2, which is just built for your average middle of the road student. If you have a student that's really excelling, they're really sending you a lot of content in their messages, really participating, then you can switch to track 3, which is going to help them where they are excel even further. If you have a student that's maybe not participating quite as much, is having trouble sending their messages, you'll be able to switch down to track 1. And then we also have a support track for if you have a student that's not writing any messages at all. Every single gateway prompt that you get will give you guidance on which track you should switch to. And in case anybody is wondering, or in case I didn't clarify this, the track is essentially the curriculum. So we have track 2, which is your regular curriculum, track 3, which is the advanced curriculum, track 1, which is the more supportive curriculum, and then we have the support track, which is for students that really need that extra support. In your gateway prompt, it will tell you if your student replied this way, consider switching to track 3. If your student replied this way, consider switching to track 1. So it will really walk you through how to decide what track is best for your student. For those of you who have participated in previous years, we have something really exciting that we're using brand new this year, which is a new mentor tracks document. In previous years, there's been links in the inside of the email prompt, and depending on what track you want to go to, you have to click to a different link, which is going to be a different document. If you have multiple students, you might have multiple documents downloaded onto your computer. This year, we just have one mentor track document that is going to contain the tracks for every single track every single week. The maximum number of clicks it will ever take you to get to the track in the week that you need to be at is 3 clicks. So hopefully this really simplifies things. This will be included in your training and your email that you will be getting later next week. However, if you would like, you can also scan the QR code or go to that link to view it or download it now. But that's something that we're really excited to be using this year. Hopefully, it should make it a lot easier for you folks who maybe are switching back and forth between tracks or have students, multiple students who are utilizing different tracks. So the first message will be, you will be writing your first message Monday, January 27th. You'll get the gateway prompt email for week 1. It'll tell you a little bit about your student. Of course, that gateway prompt with information on what to write about, and then the link to write to your student. I am going to ask that you please have your first message in by the end of day on January 31st. The reason for that is because we will be going to the school on the February 3rd and 4th to kind of kick things off with the student. And so we really want to have every student have a message waiting for them when they open up their email that Monday and Tuesday. So you'll get that next Monday, and then please reply to it by Friday. So then, after you've been messaging for a few weeks, we get our really exciting event, which is the Cloud Summit. This is the only opportunity within the program to get to connect with your student in person, face-to-face. It'll be, depending on whether you're with Securian or Excel, it could be a 2 to 3-ish hour event. You'll get lunch provided. There's going to be some really fun breakout sessions / activities that we've been planning, and an opportunity to show your student around the office and where you work. It's just going to be really, really exciting. It's kind of our big capstone event of the connection. And I've already been seeing that it looks like a lot of you will be to attend. So I'm really excited about that. I hope you guys are excited as well. It's going to be really, really fun. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm really excited to be joined by Ben Stock, who is the admin and program coordinator at Washington Tech. He's going to speak with us a little bit about the students and the student base at Washington Tech we will be connecting with. And I think, I don't know, my view is a little, Ben, are you there? If you want to take over, I'll let you speak a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Tobin. Yeah, so my name is Ben Stock. I'm the program coordinator at Washington. Now, program coordinator is actually a unique role here at Washington. I oversee testing, scheduling, registration, community partnerships, grading, basically any little thing that administrators need me to do. I just kind of do it. I'm a gopher, if you will. Washington is a 6 through 12 tech magnet school with 1,800 students here in St. Paul. Because of our magnet status, we actually pull students from all throughout St. Paul, and they get provided the yellow school bus. So we are pulling students from, one border to the other of St. Paul. And because of that, our student population is very demographically varied. We have about 50% Asian, 25% Black, 15% Hispanic, 4% white. And 88% of our students receive free and reduced lunch. I can see some updated numbers here. I need to update mine, it looks like, but it's pretty close. As you can also see, we do have 40% English language learners here at our school, with over 25 unique languages spoken by our student body. Within our school also, we have kind of a school within a school model where we have a language academy. This is for students who are new to the country within the last 3 years and need that more sheltered English language experience in order to make the gains that we'd like to see them make. Some of you will be partnered with our Level 2 Language Academy students. These are students who are in their last year of Language Academy. They've developed some language skills, but their language skills are still limited compared to a normal high school student you would anticipate working with. Washington is a biosmart school, making a turn to becoming a STEM accredited and certified school. So biosmart was a moniker that they made up 12 years ago. It's biological science, math, academic rigor, and technology. Because we have to explain that every time we use it, we decided let's go with STEM because the familiarity with STEM seems to be a lot greater than something we made up ourselves. Our high school students have access to career pathways, as all students do in St. Paul. The 4 pathways that St. Paul has determined are the ones that they want our electives kind of grouped around. So we've got biomedical, engineering, business, and then community justice and education. Within these pathways also are basically, it's not necessarily you take one class after another, but it's like pools of electives that students can take around a given future career. In addition to that, and our partnership with BestPrep, we are one of the first 2 schools in St. Paul to be partnered with 3DE and Junior Achievement North. So what's happening there is our students are taken through 6 case studies a year where they encounter a problem and then utilize some sort of predetermined tool to come to a solution. So right now we just launched a case study with Arby's, which is a national case study that we're able to do about how do you increase participation at Arby's, increase interest in Arby's for the younger demographics, the Gen Alpha. So our students are tackling that project and working with actually some fabulous people from Securian who are coming to our school in 2 weeks to kind of coach them through their problem solving around this issue. We are still short a couple of people from Securian, so if you feel like you might be someone who would work well with students in this type of setting, kind of coaching them on what they're developing, reach out to your community outreach person and they can put you in contact with either myself or Kumar, who is our lead at Junior Achievement North. At Washington also, we really value culture and community and establishing that. And one of the primary ways we do that is we embed school clubs into our school days. So every other day, students are able to access a club of their choosing that's built around an interest of theirs, whether it's weightlifting, crochet, video games, maybe they want to be on student news. By embedding this stuff in the school day, we were able to increase our participation in clubs by 300%. We have 800 of our 1,075 students in clubs right now, while the other ones opted to do a study hall instead and focus on their academic gains. We also offer, opposite of clubs, on the opposite day, we offer advisory, which is an opportunity to just provide academic support and academic advising, as well as social emotional learning and skills. Students today aren't really that different from how they used to be. They still enjoy talking about all the same stuff we did when we were younger, and they have the same fears that we had when we were younger, fears of failure, exclusion. The difference is, and maybe I'm aging myself, and you younger generations like Tovin maybe aren't as experiencing this difference as much as I do, but they have to deal with all those fears while living in a fully digital world where those distractions have increased and isolation has increased as a result as lives have moved more online. If you think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if a student's basic needs aren't met, it's really hard for them to show up at school in a meaningful way. If they're worried at home about the health of a family member, their living situation. Sometimes the best thing a kid can do is just show up to school. So what may happen as a result of that is you may not get responses from your mentee. Don't be discouraged by this. It has almost nothing to do with you and everything to do with just their own difficulties that they're struggling with. I've heard of instances where students don't respond till the very end, but their response is one of appreciation. And I actually have a story from last year. And I don't know if Carl is here from Securian, but he came up to me at the Cloud Summit last year and was really concerned because his student hadn't reached out to him. And then we get to the last day of Cloud Coach, and the student is working with his reading teacher. And he's sitting there with her, and he starts just looking through his old emails. And he sees all these emails, one every week from Carl. And at the end, he goes, "Man, my bad, Carl. I should have responded." And the teacher said, "It's not too late for you to respond." So they sat down and they crafted a response to Carl that even after the program is over, they were able to send out and deliver. Our students sometimes don't have adults who show up for them. They can also be very reticent to accept an adult who's trying to introduce themselves into their lives because of that fear of not having that person be there for them, having them not show up. If you continue to write, what you're writing is seen and is making a difference. So please do not get discouraged. Keep plowing along. I love this track system that Tovin described to really cater the experience to the responses the student's giving you. The best way to make a connection with your student is to be real with them. It's incredible how great the BS meters are on ninth grade students right now. They are able to see through things and they can tell if you're being genuine or not. Listen to what they have to say, ask good follow-up questions, and know that they are still trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be. Like this is part of the process. The best way to do that is to relate their experiences to your own story. So the adversity that they're experiencing, how is that similar to something you experienced? How did you overcome it? A main fear of students is that what they're experiencing is wholly unique to them. Nobody's ever felt the way I feel right now. We know as adults that that's not true, that these struggles that students have are things that other students are struggling with. And if we can build those communication skills, they're able to close that gap and build relationships with each other around either interests or struggles, whichever they may be. So speak your truth and meet the students where they're at. And if you maintain that perspective and assure your students that, you too felt things like this and you made it out to find the personal success that you have now. Like that's my main hope for students, is that they come away from this saying, hey, I'm part of a bigger thing than just what's happening inside me. There are people around me who can guide me to the goals and dreams that I have. And this is just a start of that, is developing this mentorship partnership between students and you wonderful adults at Securing and Excel. That is all I've got. If you have any particular questions about, the students at Washington or what you might experience, feel free to raise your hand or throw them in chat. And I'd love to just answer any questions you may have.
Ben, it looks like we had one question, specifically with regards to families fearing deportation. Are we at risk of students not coming to school due to such fears? I don't know if that's something you can touch on at all.
Yeah, I'll try to, because this is obviously a new issue that we've been having to deal with and really working with our students to understand what might happen and what the process is. And I wish I could say that our students coming to school or their parents coming to school and knowing that it's a safe place where nothing can happen to them was true. It's sadly not true, and it's becoming less true by the day. You may experience those fears in our students, especially those language academy students who are new to the country. As far as the students not coming to school because of those fears, we haven't seen an impact on attendance yet from that, but it could be something we encounter. So keep that in mind as well, especially if you're working with students who tell you that they're not, originally from America. That's a great question, Mary. I wish I had a more detailed response on how we're handling that, and it's something we're definitely working on. But, new problems require new solutions, and sometimes solutions when it comes to the safety and well-being of our students come slower than we want them to.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Does anybody else have any questions specifically about the student body or about the students for Ben? We will also have a general Q&A at the end for just questions about the program, but any questions for Ben right now?
I think he answered mine. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and at any point after this as well, you can always reach out to me and I will get you an answer. I'm in contact with Ben all the time, so I can forward his question on to you and get you in, or forward your question on to him and get an answer for you. At this point, we're going to move on to something a little bit new this year that we're trying to do. As you can see on the screen right now, almost 40% of the students are English learners. So I have a survey that I would like everybody to take. There's a QR code here, or the link is in the chat as well. And I'd just like you to quickly pull that up. It's just going to ask you if you are a mentor who speaks, writes, or reads, or is comfortable, you feel you have enough skills to interact with your student in a language that might be their native language, or might be a second language to you, so that we can try and pair you up with someone who is learning English. It can be really impactful if they get to be in contact with a mentor who speaks their native language. So we'll take just a few moments to let these responses come in. I see a ton of them are already. Thank you guys so much. I'm really hoping that this can allow us to enhance our program. I can't promise that I will be able to pair you with a student who speaks that same language. We have a lot of students, we have a lot of mentors. Sometimes things just don't shake out that way, but I will do my best. So thank you so much for filling that out. We'll go on now to student and mentor expectations. And this is going to get a little bit into more of what Ben was speaking to with, students. Sometimes their accomplishment for the day is just showing up for school. So we will, and Clara, I see your question there. As to what level we are looking for in a second language, if you feel comfortable speaking to that student in that language, you don't have to be fluent by any means. Just if you are comfortable enough to try, sometimes that can go a long ways. And absolutely, it is okay to speak to your mentee in their native language if you are also comfortable speaking that language through written text as well. One thing that we will ask is if you are using another language in your messages. Here at BestPrep, we have quite a large or a robust system to filter the messages and make sure that nothing worrisome is going through, as well, so that if something's going on with the student, we can connect them with their social worker or with somebody at the school. So we do ask that if you are going to be conversing with your mentee in a language that is not English, that you have a little bit of a heightened awareness, and should anything worrisome come up, that you let us know right away. I see there was another question here. What about AI translator since it's text-based? AI is something that is, of course, newer, and we are still working on figuring out how to address here at BestPrep. The program manager of Cloud Coach, Brooke Nelson, is on the call here, and I don't know if Brooke, you would be able to or willing to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So my thought on the AI for translation purposes, if your student is using a different language, their teachers do encourage them to write in English, but they might throw in like phrases in Spanish or like a few paragraphs in different languages of their native language. If you're paired with a student and you're not fluent in the language, or you don't speak or read the language, I would, throw those into some sort of a translator just to see what it's saying. But our hope is to try to just pair as many students as we can if we know Spanish is their first language and we have a few mentors who speak Spanish, just so then at the meet and greet or the Cloud Summit, they can then converse in their native language a little bit, which is really helpful for them. But yeah, if you get any information that is in a different language, you are fine to like throw that in a translator to see exactly what it says so you can respond. Does that answer the question, Tobin?
I think that hopefully answers it pretty well.
Okay.
That was a great question, and thank you for asking it. AI is something that we are all learning how to navigate, and I am hoping to be able to provide some additional training later on in the connection about that. Just we are still working on developing those resources. What I will say just about generative AI in general right now is in whatever way that you choose to use it, we just ask that you make sure that it's in line with the spirit of the program. You know, the spirit of Cloud Coach is really to build a relationship between you and your student. And so if you feel that using AI can help you do that better, we welcome that use. If we really try to discourage its use in a way that might not necessarily be helpful to growing your connection and your relationship with your student. So I hope that answers a little bit, if anybody had any questions about that as well. So we'll get on to student and mentor expectations. What to expect from students. Ideally, students write once per week. They write a message on the same day that they receive the prompt to write. Some of our very, high performance students might be doing that. That's the ideal. Realistically, students may write their message after the designated day, or completely miss a week's message due to absence, other assignments, expectations from their teacher, home life situations. So realistically, our students are just writing as much as they're able, as often as they're able. And really our goal of the program is to meet those students where they are and provide the mentorship and a relationship in that spot. As well, the BestPrep coordinator, so that's me for this connection. I will be in constant communication with the teacher on student status and well-being. If for some reason you're not receiving a message, I will go and I'll check in with the teacher. Hopefully that teacher will be able to give me a little insight as to what's going on there, and then I can communicate with that with you. That can both help you know how to tailor your messages to them, as well as, say, hey, if a student's been out sick for 2 weeks, they're not upset and hating their mentorship experience. They're sick. So it just helps with the communication all around. Ideally, students will be sharing their own thoughts and questions on each week's topic. That's the ideal. Realistically, many students are still learning basic and professional writing skills, and they may just copy and paste the prompt or write something very short. Additionally, we have seen the use of generative AI more recently as it's become more available. Any attempt at a message with a student should be celebrated. Students are doing their best. How you can handle this as a mentor is to share your personal insights and experiences on the topic. If a student doesn't write much, you can refer back to the topic for the week and share your own insight. Students benefit from the content of your messages, even if they maybe aren't initiating as much. You can ask the students question about that topic to encourage them to respond to you in the following week's message. If maybe your student mentions very briefly that they spent a lot of time last week playing video games, ask them what's their favorite video game. Maybe you could, search online some different video games and try to start a conversation with them in a way that lets them know, hey, this is a real person who cares about me, who's interested in me. And then be just an example of professional communication. A lot of students, they learn by example. So making sure that your spelling, grammar, using bullet points if it's called for, organizing your message clearly, that's really important to students. One thing I do want to mention is to avoid giving advice that they haven't asked for. We want to be sure that we are meeting the students where they are, and sometimes it can be very harmful to, make assumptions. And I see we have another question here. So this program, that's a great question. This is going to be part of their curriculum within every single ninth grade classroom. So that's why we have such a large range of participation. Not every single student is going to be enthusiastic about this. We have quite a few incentives that we give to try and encourage participation. Sometimes that works. Sometimes what students are going through at home or in their life just isn't that incentive just isn't enough for them, and we do see lower participation. Again, that's where you come in. When it's in the beginning, often we see when the student is still viewing this as an assignment, it's really difficult for them to be actively engaged, to be excited about it. We have a small group of volunteers who come in and talk to the students from the company on their first day. And what's so interesting is those students whose mentors end up being those volunteers, the difference in their messages is huge. Once they realize, hey, this is a real person who wants to have a real communication and relationship with me, a lot of times those students are much more enthusiastic. Same thing as once they meet their mentor at the Cloud Summit, that face-to-face interaction is so, so important. And they truly, start to understand, again, this isn't just a computer I'm writing back and forth to, this is a real person who cares about me. And so that really does make a difference. So again, with the students, ideally every student, and this is kind of talking to that, every student participates in the mentor student activity at the Cloud Summit. And so realistically, sometimes scheduling conflicts, lacks of permission slips, or competing assignments prevent students from participating. Ideally, we would love every single student to be there, every single mentor, but we realize that both on the mentor and the student side, something life just happens, and so not every single student is going to be there. And I see that question from Jason. What happens to students who have mentors that aren't able to attend the Cloud Summit event? They still will have a mentor assigned to them at the summit. Sometimes how we'll do it is they'll go with a friend who has their mentor there to try and kind of give a natural icebreaker, make things a little bit easier for the mentor. But every single student will have someone assigned to them at the event. So no one is going to be on their own left out. Again, with that inability to sometimes attend the Cloud Summit, teachers will confirm students' inability to attend as soon as they know, and then I communicate that on to the mentors. And students, they'll still receive emails about it, and we just do our best to try and make sure that everybody's participating as much as possible. Like this happens. So now getting into a little bit more the expectations from mentors, from you guys, in how you communicate with your students. Ideally, you respond to your student's message within 2 business days. This isn't always realistic. There's unexpected absences, tech issues, scheduling conflicts. Some stuff happens with that. So how you guys should handle this, if you have planned out of office time, please let your student know in the prior week. That way they're not wondering, hey, why didn't my mentor respond to me this week? Especially if you start to really build that relationship. If you miss the deadline unexpectedly, please write to your student, let them know what happened as soon as you're able. And alternatively, or additionally, you can also let me here at BestPrep know, and then I'll be able to forward that information on to the teacher. If you have planned out of office time that's going to conflict with your messaging, please let me know. That way I can make sure that I'm not sending you email reminders asking, hey, your student is excited to hear from you. Cuts down on, just junk mail in the inbox. And I have an answer for the teacher when they ask me, hey, this student hasn't heard from their mentor yet, what's going on? So please, if you have planned out office time and it will conflict with writing to your student, do please let me know. Or your company coordinators at Securian or Excel, respectively. I see we have another question. If the student can't come, should the mentor still show up at the summit? Yes. As you're able and willing to, that would be fantastic. We do often have mentors who, last day sickness or something unexpected comes up and they're not able to attend. So as much as we are able to give students one-on-one attention at the event, that is fantastic. If your student doesn't come, we will find another student for you. It doesn't always shake out super easily or super clearly in the days leading up to it, but as much as we can provide students one-on-one opportunities with mentors, that's our goal, that relationship. With more expectations of mentors, ideally, you'll be replying to your students' questions, ideas, or comments and asking your mentee a question within 2 business days. Realistically, some messages from students are going to have very little content, very few details, might be confusing or unrelated. In those situations, you can always reach out to me for support. You can reach out to your company coordinators for support. I know Excel, you guys are going to have some sort of chat group, so you can, you know, reach out to that group, ask them for help on the situation, and then ask your student questions as much as possible, whether it's about the topic or about something that they, again, very briefly mentioned, you know, asking them questions to try and, you know, hopefully get a little bit more engagement in the following week. And then our last expectation of mentors is that every mentor participates in the Mentor Student activity at the Cloud Summit. Again, we said realistically, some mentors might not be able to attend, whether this is illness, scheduling conflict, pre-planned out office time. I know some of you don't even live in Minnesota or in the Twin Cities metro area. So, you know, I'm not expecting anybody to fly from Colorado to the Twin Cities just for a 2-hour event. You know, if you want to, that would be incredible, but that's not an expectation. So again, the way that we handle this, just once you know that you're not going to be able to attend, let us know, that your company coordinators know, and then we will make sure that your student gets paired up with someone else so that they can still have that meaningful connection. A few writing tips for your messages. Please be consistent and timely. Write every single week, even if your student isn't, which, you know, can be difficult at times. Meet your students where they are. You know, if your student is struggling to participate, their win for the day is just being at school, you know, ask them simple questions. You don't need to ask them, you know, the entirety of the tier 3 prompt. You can just ask, you know, how was your day? Sometimes that's all a student needs. Ask open-ended questions. Show them that you were listening by repeating and tying in things from their last message. That really makes it easier for them to respond. And then finally, just be genuine and be yourself. You don't need to change who you are for this program. Students like to know that you are also a person. Also, you know, it's been a while since I was in 9th grade, but students love to educate adults. They love to tell adults, you know, the way things are. And so asking your student to maybe explain something to you, to teach something to you that they are passionate about. I mean, we all love talking about ourselves. We all love talking about things we're passionate about. And then again, just reiterating, ask for help if you're not sure. You know, that's what we have all these support resources built out for. If you ever have a question, I really want to encourage, feel free to reach out to me. I see we have another question. In the event of a student divulging that there may be a dangerous situation at home or in the student's personal life, what should we do? Please reach out to me as soon as possible. Again, especially for those of you whose messages will be written in English, ideally, we will see those messages before they even get passed along to you. And so then we can give you a heads up and we can, depending on the situation, get that student in contact with, you know, a school counselor, some sort of adult, some sort of resource before it escalates any further. But if for some reason something got missed and you have a concern or worry, please reach out to us. 100 times over, we would rather be too careful and, you know, get excited over nothing rather than missing something one time. So please, if you have even a little bit of a concern that something dangerous or there's some sort of situation going on, please reach out to us. What if your student doesn't respond? So we do ask that you please keep sending your message weekly. That story that Ben shared, you know, a lot of times the student, even if they're not responding, they're still seeing your message. Consider moving to track 1 or to the support track. Cloud Coach is designed to provide a mentor to every single 9th grade student. So that means we have the entire spectrum of participation. There is unfortunately the chance that some of you will never hear from your mentee. That's not what we hope. That's not our goal for the program, but it is an unfortunate truth. Some of you might never hear from your mentee. Some students are, not even opening their email or looking at those messages until they are in class. Your student could have some barriers that they're experiencing. 1% of students at Washington Tech are facing homelessness right now. Your student could be working a full-time job in addition to going to school. Your student may have recently moved into the country. That's why we're trying to pair people up with other languages and spend, maybe they spend the entire class period just trying to get 1 or 2 sentences to send to their mentor. And your student might not have an adult who's regularly checking in on them, just seeing how they're doing. So the ability to be that adult in their life, to be someone that is safe and responsible, who is checking in on them and cares on them, is both a responsibility and a privilege. Again, we are always here to help. We will be constantly checking in with teachers. We'll be monitoring messages, seeing who hasn't written. We'll be reaching out to you with resources and help in those situations. Really what I'd say is just keep writing, try to stay positive and encouraging. If necessary, shift to a lower track and keep it brief, but just keeping those messages going is really important. We have a question. Are we allowed to share photos in our conversations with the student? No, unfortunately. There are some circumstances, if you have something that you really wanted to share, you could message it, you could send it to me. And then if it's something that's in line with the program, I could forward it on to the student and the teacher, just because of the potential for risk and for unfortunate circumstances that proposes. Our system is set up to not allow that. Again, if it's something that you really, really feel passionate about and you want them to know or see, you can always email that to me and then I'll forward it on. But within the portal itself, you won't be able to. So here is the timeline for everything that we just discussed. Today is, of course, January 23rd, where we had the virtual mentor training. On the 27th, you'll be receiving your week 1 prompt. The week of February 24th will be that in-person Cloud Summit on the 24th and the 27th, depending on which company you're in. And then the week of February 17th will be the end of our program. You'll be submitting I'm sorry, that shouldn't say February 17th. The week of March 17th will be the end of the program. You will submit your week 8 message, and then you will be completing a survey, which will be emailed from me. It just will ask you a few questions about the program, suggestions for recommendations, that sort of stuff. The next steps, so first thing done, you can check off attended live training. We've done that, we've accomplished it. We will have an email that will be going out to everybody in the next week. It will have a Cloud Coach training video. A lot of that training video is just going to be very similar to this training, mostly for people who weren't able to attend today. Then we'll have an online cultural humility video, which is only 4 minutes long. We just ask that everybody watch that. Talks about cultural humility and communicating with students from other backgrounds and all sorts of folks from other backgrounds. And then we ask you to fill out the volunteer agreement form, which just takes a couple minutes. It's just our way to confirm that you've watched the training video, you understand what we're expecting with this program. And then I ask that it's all submitted by January 29th, which will be around the same time you're submitting that first message. We have had troubles with our system in the past with that volunteer agreement form for mentors who have multiple students. If for some reason you keep receiving reminder emails, we don't want that, please reach out to me and I will try and get that fixed for you as promptly as possible. We had a question, is the link / messaging phone friendly, or will I need my computer each week? I've been able to do it successfully from my phone, and I have a pretty small phone. It's like an iPhone 12 mini. It worked fine for me. One thing I will mention about the portal, and this will be mentioned in some of those training documents as well, is that the portal does not, it's not like Microsoft Word or Google Docs where it saves your progress. So I would recommend drafting your response and then copy and pasting it into the portal, because otherwise, if you leave, it could lose everything you wrote. Other than that, I think it's pretty phone friendly. Of course, that experience is going to differ from person to person. I'd recommend using a computer, but absolutely, if there's a situation that calls for it, it can be done on your phone. So finally, I just want to thank you for participating in Cloud Coach. Again, this is a really exciting opportunity for all of us. I am just really thrilled and grateful that all of you are willing to participate. It just means a lot to me. It means a lot to BestPrep, and it hopefully will mean a lot to the students as well. If anybody has any other questions now, I would love to do my best to answer those. On the screen is my contact information as well as your contacts for whatever organization you're at. So those, yeah, likely you've already been in communication with Hannah, Crystal, and Corbin if you're from Excel, or Anna and Joe if you're at Securian. If you have any questions, you can continue to be in contact with them. Otherwise, again, my name and email is on the top of the screen. If you don't have any questions, you can feel free to hop off. Otherwise, I will answer questions